No, I think she's. Good. So. You. Just coming. Okay. Live on, right on. Yeah. No, you.
figure about time he gavels it to order up sleep. Okay.
Did Tim just leave? We'll get started now. Welcome, everybody, to the February 26th regular city council meeting. And I'd like to call on our city clerk to please call the roll.
Counselor Long,
Present.
Counselor McLaughlin,
Present.
Counselor Runyon,
Present.
Counselor Randall,
Present.
Counselor Richardson,
Present.
Mayor Mays.
Present. Okay, item 3 is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to call on Counselor Scott Randall. Please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As far as the agenda goes, which is item 4, we do have some changes to the agenda. The first one is item 10A is not a public hearing, but it's an action item. So that would not be a public hearing. The second one is we've added a item to the consent agenda, which will be item 9D, which is a modification of a contract amount for the SCADA system upgrade, which has been added late. And if the council would like, I can certainly call up our Public Works Director to explain that a little better. And then we're also removing the executive session, at least that portion of the executive session from the agenda. The
Question.
performance evaluations is being taken off, but we'll still go in executive session to discuss litigation, right? Did you have a question, Counselor?
Yeah, if it's not a public hearing, is it still a resolution or now an ordinance or what is it?
Who wants to?
It remains a resolution.
Still a resolution. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you. A second?
McLaughlin will second.
Been moved by Counselor Long and seconded by Counselor McLaughlin to approve the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6 is audience part, whoa. Item 5, we have a presentation regarding our wastewater treatment plant. And I'd like to call on our Director of Public Works, Dave Anderson, to introduce the gentleman from Jacobs.
Jacobs.
It's operated the city's wastewater treatment plant for 31 years now. And Oscar Ferris, our wastewater treatment plant manager with Jacobs, is here to give their annual report to the council tonight.
So thank you, council, for having me here to present our annual report to you all. I just want to touch on a few of the points as we go through the report itself. Jacobs is one of the largest water and wastewater O&M service providers. And we have a longstanding history here with City of the Dalles. As a US-based company, we have more staff in the Northwest region than any other O&M firm. So focusing on our people, the plant is fully staffed at 8 employees, but we have, during the reporting period, operated mostly with 6 to 7 employees. We are currently struggling to find some qualified new hires, but still achieving permanent and contractual obligations and always striving to improve. The Dalles wastewater treatment plant treated just over 920 million gallons with 99.9% compliance with our NPDES permit. A little perspective, an Olympic pool holds 60,000 gallons, so that is more than 15,000. Go ahead. So the charts here show permitted limits versus our actual values. And it proves that we produce an effluent quality significantly better than the permitted requirements. Moving on to biosolids. Around 2.2 million gallons of biosolids were produced and land applied as a reuse product to surrounding farmlands as soil enhancement and fertilizer. Our IPP program, Jacobs monitors monthly industrial user reports. We assist in industry inspections and samplings, and we perform quarterly grease trap inspections that oftentimes provide us an opportunity to educate food service establishments on how to protect their plumbing as well as our sanitary sewers. To touch on maintenance, there were 459 work orders tracked in the reporting period. 98% of those were preventative or predictive. So proactive versus reactive, with the remaining being 2% work orders. Something that we strive to maintain consistent and reduce overall maintenance and repair costs as much as possible. The in-house lab collected and analyzed over 4,000 samples in the reporting year. And that's not including the DEQ non-routine samples that are collected and sent out to contract labs for analysis. I had one more still. There we are. So at Jacobs, we have a safety culture and we pride ourselves very much on taking care of our coworker. Unfortunately, the project saw a lost time injury after 22 years exemplary safety record, not having one of those. But we used the misfortune to help us reevaluate where we could improve, and we identified those areas, and we currently stand at over 300 days safe work. And so, as far as sustainability goes, Jacobs is a part of several sustainable initiatives, and it's incredibly important to us that we create a positive impact on our city and our residents. That's what I got.
Any questions? I have one about the setback you had on, it was just one incident that it must have been pretty serious for.
So it was, we had a new hire who is not an operator doing some operational duties, and he grabbed a diamond plate and overextended himself, and it ended up resulting in an abdominal hernia. So it was serious. We looked at ways to address it. We took the diamond plates and we cut them into smaller sections. We drilled holes. We have different tools that we've manufactured to help us lift those plates to perform routine cleaning of our UV system.
Yeah. But other than that, you guys are continuing to provide a safe environment, you feel?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great.
Yep, we have safety tailgate meetings every morning. Anything that's identified, we talk about as a group and address right away.
I think the city has made great progress, not only with our wastewater treatment plant, but other departments in the city seem to be doing very well, according to our insurance agent anyway, so. Any other questions? Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Item 6, audience participation. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject which does not later appear on the agenda. Up to 3 minutes per person will be allowed. Citizens are encouraged to ask questions with the understanding that the city can either answer that question tonight or refer the question to the appropriate staff member who will get back to you within a reasonable amount of time. If a response by the city is requested, the speaker may be referred to the city manager for further action. The issue may appear on a future meeting agenda for city council consideration. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council for up to 3 minutes on something that is not on the agenda? Last call. Okay, seeing nobody, we'll move on. Item 7 is the city manager's report. Mr. Klebs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got quite a few items for you this evening on a myriad of different topics. The first, as the city council may recall, but when I started as city manager here, I quickly made connections with city manager over in Hood River, Abigail, and she and I have been coordinating some quarterly or every 3 or 4 months or so, kind of a city manager networking meeting here in the Gorge. And that's really taken off. And we had one of our networking meetings just a couple weeks ago, where we also welcomed the new Maupin city manager, Nick Smith. And so that's been a very productive, very supportive, and very beneficial meeting, especially as several of the city managers in the Gorge area are relatively new, myself included. And so it was great to see Nick. He was on the job for a grand total of, I think, 2 or 3 weeks when he joined that meeting. So he's still getting up to speed. I also wanted to let you know that we completed a license agreement for the Orchard Hills edition. As the council may recall, a number of months ago, we had a constituent come in near 18th Street, 19th Street, I guess you could say, where they had a verbal agreement with the city to maintain some of the property that was up there, city-owned property, notably mowing and minor landscaping and such. And they had requested that we formalize that agreement, which we did just a few weeks ago, again, through a license agreement. Again, in that same spirit that the original agreement was intended, again, focusing on minor landscaping and mowing and whatnot. We did try to make sure and, dot every I and cross every T. So they cannot grow marijuana on the property and things like that. So we wanted to be very clear about that license agreement and what it would allow and what it wouldn't. So that was completed. We also, leadership team here, focused up some executive forum training, facilitated and organized by our human resource director, Daniel Hunter. This was something that we started a couple of months ago, where the entire leadership team went down to multiple days of training, and we finished that up last week with 2 final days. I think that were very productive, very beneficial to the leadership team, and we'll be doing some debriefing tomorrow morning on how that went, what everybody got from it, and what we might want to do in the future. Also wanted to provide an update on the shopping cart ordinance that went into effect in late January. We are still primarily in the education and compliance mode right now, with additional outreach to the different grocery stores and businesses that provide shopping carts in our community to let them know of the requirements under the shopping cart ordinance, as well as we'll be coordinating with our police department and codes enforcement department as we move forward with enforcement aspects of that. Once we've completed that due diligence and outreach to make sure that all the businesses know what's required and that they've had an opportunity to get into compliance. Late last week, or I think in the middle of last week, we became aware that the American Queen, or AQV, one of the cruise ship lines that dock at our marine terminal, just a couple blocks away from here, it actually declared bankruptcy and will not be moving forward with any more cruises this season. In 2023, we had approximately 25 ship dockings through AQV. As the council may recall, last year in the spring of last year, we entered into a lease agreement with American Cruise Lines, which is a separate company from AQV. So that lease is still in place. ACL, American Cruise Lines, intends to continue to make use of that lease with numerous dockings throughout the course of the year. And we immediately conducted some outreach through our city clerk and our economic development officer to confirm that commitment and that we could expect to see those cruise ships docking this year. We'll also be doing some outreach in coordination with the Dalles Main Street and the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce to coordinate and communicate on different mitigating some of the impacts of the loss of these cruise ship dockings and seeing what other ways we could strengthen our relationship with ACL and some of the other cruise ships that dock here. Some of the dialogue that we've had already with ACL in particular dealt with kind of a hop-on, hop-off bus, which is one thing that the American Queen was notable for. And so some of the dialogue we've had with ACL to date, they call theirs the Loop, but it's similar to a hop-on, hop-off bus. With stops including the Discovery Center, the Neon Sign Museum, Fort Dalles Museum, the Anderson Homestead, and a few others. A lot of the American Cruise Line excursions do include a trip to Multnomah Falls, as well as the Bonneville Dam, which is actually listed as a premium excursion for passengers on the cruise ship line. Part of that is to encourage cruise ship passengers to stay and visit our downtown. And those hop on, hop off buses typically run in the morning and in the afternoon. One of the things they made note of is that they will be looking for, and I think in this past year, had actually established relationships with local tour guides to help supplement some of these tours, most notably and associated with the number of murals that we have in town and the relatively recent mural fest that we had. And so ACL will be looking to use local guides again this season and are actually looking for some additional individuals who might be interested in providing such services. And so we'll continue to communicate to the other area attractions that we have, the Neon Sign Museum, Fort Dalles, Discovery Center, and others, to see what the impact may be in this past year and this upcoming year, cruise ship dockings from the American Queen. We'll have more to report for you down the road. The other thing I wanted to mention is that not only did American Cruise Lines commit to the upcoming season and continuing to visit the Dalles and patron our local shops and businesses, they also, might be somewhat surprisingly, considering what the American Queen is going through, they anticipate growth in this area with the cruise ship industry. And they've actually placed orders, from what they've told us, for an additional 5 ships which are under construction, not simply for the Columbia River Gorge, but some of their Mississippi excursions as well. But American Cruise Lines remains committed and strong in this area. Last week, we had a very productive meeting with our police department and Union Pacific Railroad Police to discuss some of the issues and dangers along UPRR tracks that we've been seeing a couple times, with people encroaching on the railroad tracks or walking the railroad tracks themselves. And so we had a very productive meeting where we discussed ways that we can support each other, improve those lines of communication to avoid any mishaps on the railroad itself. Last week or the week before, I think it was the week before, the city clerk and I conducted a site visit to Dirt Huggers across the river over in Dallesport. A lot of the intent here was to learn more about Dirt Huggers' operation, and most notably, some constituent concerns that we've been receiving about odors in the community. We had a very, again, productive site visit with Dirt Huggers. They were very open and appreciative of having that outreach and being able to walk the city clerk and I around the facility and explain to us and let us know what some of their challenges are and what proactive steps they are taking to mitigate some of the odor that may be coming from their facility. In particular, these odor complaints or constituent concerns tend to come during the wintertime when there's an inversion and some of the wind directions start to shift, in particular the east wind. And so they're actually in the process of installing some additional weather station sensors to help inform the facility and its operations. They are a bit constrained in this area because some of the biological processes they have at the facility don't really care what the weather is, and they have to turn piles and manage that material regardless. However, they'll also be soon installing some additional control mechanisms, primarily aeration and paving. This aeration system actually sucks air through the material piles, if you will, and then through a filter before being discharged to mitigate some of the odor concerns. I also met with Pacific Coast Producers, which is formerly Cherry Growers, to discuss some similar concerns around with odor, as well as some beautification efforts along the frontage that they have along I-84. And then finally, I had a meeting with Chief Palmer last week where we discussed a variety of different issues and items. One most notably was when the fire department starts issuing fireworks permits. And this is an item that has come up starting on an annual basis for the city council, where we have entertained and discussed and implemented different fireworks bans. As the council may recall, last year we had a ban on the personal use of fireworks, but allowed commercial shows and allowed the sale of fireworks. And so this is an item that I intend to bring back to the city council in March in alignment with when the fire department starts actually issuing these fireworks permits. So seekers of those permits can make an informed decision and know which way the council might be considering some kind, if any, fireworks ban for this coming 2024 year. And I think with that, that is my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Klebs?
Just one. Do we have any feeling yet of direct impact on the loss of the American Queen to the city? Just not the tourism, et cetera, but just the boat docking here and so forth.
So from a financial standpoint, to be very honest with you, that was my first reaction was the lease agreement we have now that we entered into last year is with the American Cruise Lines, who leased the dock from the city of the Dalles for $65,000. I got ACL and AQV actually confused in the beginning, but AQV is the one that is going through Chapter 11 bankruptcy. ACL remains strong. So the short answer to your question is we will still receive that lease payment from ACL, and ACL is still responsible for paying the water bill associated with the dock. Now, ACL in turn then leases or allows other cruise ships to dock at our commercial dock, and they charge those other cruise ships a fee. So ACL may see their own financial hit because the American Queen won't be docking at the dock. But what we've heard anecdotally is that some of the American Queen passengers who had booked cruise ships for this season are looking to shift their bookings to other still viable cruise lines, and ACL may be picking up some of those passengers.
Any other questions?
One briefly, if I may. Roughly how many cruise visits do we have annually? You said we were going to lose about 20 or maybe 25.
Yeah, I think it varies between 100 and 120 is what I would guess.
So it's a substantial chunk, but it's not the whole ball game.
Correct. And if the council may recall, the American Queen was one of the first users of our maritime terminal. And in the lease agreement with American Cruise Lines, we had actually inserted a provision that allowed the Queen to have at least one docking a week. And so that's where we came up with about 20 to 30, 25 or so cruise ship dockings last year. It varies a lot on the weather sometimes and when they can get started. And sometimes they'll book cruise ship dockings all the way through to November, even December. But then, depending on the passenger interest during those winter months, sometimes those taper off and get canceled.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to city council reports. We'll start with Councilor McLaughlin.
Short list this week, Airport Commission Zoom meeting. I attended urban development. I had contact with the police captain in the last couple of weeks over issues with homelessness. Briefing February 12th with a small group contingency. And finally, I'll be out of town for the month of March. So I'll miss the March 11th meeting.
Councilor Long. Was that it, Councilor?
Yep.
Councilor Long.
Yeah, so on February 16th, I also attended a briefing session with the mayor and city manager as well as Councilor Randall. And on February 20th, I met with the city manager, and I also held a meeting of the Gateway Urban Renewal Agency, and I was reelected chair for this year, and Marcus Swift from Parks and Recreation was elected co-chair. We also had in attendance a representative from the new Main Street group. They're going to be a liaison attending the meetings to make sure we coordinate. And we had a presentation of our annual fiscal report and our fiscal year 2023 financial audit report, all as well. We had we have also approved an incentive plan request for the 201, 203 Washington Street building, which was formerly known as the Blue Building, for a project that they are working on. And we started a discussion about how much money we have left to use prior to the district's end date, which is estimated to be 2029. And then finally, I met with Councilor Richardson this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one item, and that is the February 16th briefing session, again, with yourself, Manager Klebs, and Councilor Long. That's it.
Councilor Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A bit of a list this time. On the 13th, I attended a McCack and Columbia Gorge Housing Collaborative meeting online. On the 15th, another online meeting with the Latinx Advisory Committee up at CGCC. They spoke with the new college president about the strategic plan there. Also on the 15th, as you know, I met you at or ran into you and Councilor Runyon at the History After Hours presentation, in which we heard a presentation on the new Sign Museum's new carousel, or the old carousel they are newly getting, and also celebrated Oregon's 165th birthday. On the 19th, I attended a Weeblos Scouts meeting by invitation to present on local government and what does in fact the city do. Turns out quite a lot. On the 20th, attended that urban renewal meeting and also a Mosier to the Dells Trail public meeting to hear about that and plans or questions there. On the 21st, I attended Traffic Safety Commission, and there were, of course, various discussions about various safety improvements that might be made as they do faithfully every month, and an ongoing discussion about traffic enforcement and some approaches we might explore. And finally, on the 23rd, had a walking meeting with our economic development officer downtown to talk about the Tony's building site, urban renewal, and also get briefed on the childcare project he's been involved with for quite some time.
Thank you. Councilor Runyon.
As Councilor Richardson mentioned, there was a meeting across the street, basically, kitty corner, by the Historical Society. It was our annual meeting, and this time it was at the Neon Museum, but it does rotate around the community, and the whole idea is to bring local historical organizations together. And I was asked to speak as president of the Mid-Columbia Veterans Memorial Committee, but specifically as a founding board member of the Columbia Gorge Veterans Museum, which is right downstairs next to the Fire Department Museum, which was actually started by the Discovery Center. Tom's right there. I'm just making sure he has his facts clear. And and is open from 1 to 4 on Fridays at this point. All right, so we'd like you to visit that. That was on the 15th of February. On the 21st, I was actually downstairs again with the Veterans Museum board meeting. So that's pretty much it.
As far as my report goes, I had several items that have already been covered, so I won't go into those, but I do have one important item here as it's that time of the year when the city council has to be concerned about evaluating 3 employees, our city manager, city attorney, and our municipal judge. And I have left forms for all 3 on the dais for you. And everybody did receive those. And I'd like to, before we adjourn, if we all have our calendars, we might as well go ahead and set up our first meeting. So did everybody bring their calendars with them? Yep. Great.
Mayor Mays.
You're going to be gone.
I need to add one thing that I did, that I attended the Black History Month signing by our governor in Salem, and I met with many of the legislators, senators, and congressmen, and the governor that day. So I just wanted to get that on the record.
Now you're going to be in Ireland?
Ireland, Scotland,
Yeah. And when are you going to be back?
the 21st.
So we can either schedule a meeting for after the 21st, or we can join Councilor McLaughlin in Ireland. What do you guys want?
That's debatable.
Oh,
Oh, I see.
I'm going to be in Dublin on March 17th for St. Patty's Day.
is Friday the 22nd too
I-
soon for you? Because you're going to be getting back the day before, right?
That's fine.
How's Friday, March 22nd for everybody?
I think I've got a work thing that's like an annual project. It's all hands on deck. So
You can't make that.
I need to make it probably like the 24th or 25th.
Okay.
Probably not the 24th. How about the 25th onward?
How's Tuesday, the 26th in the afternoon?
I will be back.
Councilor Runyon, you okay with that?
Clear at the moment.
Okay. Let's go with 3 o'clock Tuesday, March 26th. That'll be our first meeting.
That's for evaluation.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll go into executive session for that, Ms. City Clerk.
Got it.
I'm not 100% sure because it's during spring break and I might have an obligation with a
Oh,
family member. I haven't confirmed yet, but it's okay if you want to put it down and
yeah, let's pencil it in. How's that? If you can't, how's the following day at 3 o'clock? 27th, everybody.
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday, the 27th. If Counselor Long cannot make the 26th, we'll make it the 27th, and when are you gonna know?
I'll try to find out tonight or
Oh, great.
tomorrow.
Okay,
But yeah, it's first
Same time?
spring break.
3 o'clock. It'll be one of those 2 days. Thank you, everybody, very much.
7th.
20-minute meeting.
Uh-huh.
All right. Moving right along, consent agenda is item number 9. Tonight, we have 4 items on the consent agenda. The first one is the approval of the February 12th City Council meeting minutes. Second is a resolution assessing property for the cost of nuisance abatement. Third is a resolution approving my appointment of Jeffrey Shulkers to the Urban Renewal Budget Committee. Mr. Shulkers is in the audience. He's here. Thank you for coming and appreciate your volunteering. And finally, what was just added tonight is a modification of a contract amount for the SCADA system upgrade. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda
As amended.
as amended.
I would like to just ask, I think Counselor McLaughlin has usually asked before we assess property, if the property owner is in the audience.
Thank you.
It was always a good idea. It's
It
still a
is.
good idea.
The owner of 2221 West 8th Street here. Would like to comment. I don't see anybody, so.
Thank you.
Shouldn't, just a question about point of order. We had a motion on the floor. We should have waited for the second, then did that under discussion at that point.
Yeah.
Since we didn't do it before the whole thing started.
Understood. Thank you for that correction. I'll draw the question until the appropriate time. And second the motion.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved by Council Randall and seconded by Council Richardson to approve the agenda or the consent agenda as amended. Is there any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 10A is not a public hearing, is a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds. Our Finance Director, Ms. Angie Wilson, is here to explain this.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of council. You have my agenda staff report before you this evening. Resolution 24-007 is authorizing transfers of budgeted amounts between categories of various funds of the City of the Dalles adopted budget, making appropriations and authorizing expenditures for the fiscal year June 30th, 2024. Oregon budget law recognizes that after the beginning of the fiscal year, changes in appropriations in the budget sometimes become necessary and so allows for those changes via supplemental budget and budget amendments. Budget amendments move already budgeted funds between categories of the same fund without adding the fund's total budget. Budget Resolution 24-007 transfers $138,885 from the contingency line item in the general fund to cover the following items. And before I go through those following items, on page 2 of the resolution, you'll see that from the general fund contingency, the budget amount was $932,822. There was an error on the resources needed. It's actually $793,937, which reduces the contingency amount. So the first item for the contingency items moved is $4,600 is needed from the city clerk budget. The quality code needs reassessment due to a higher than anticipated number of code changes this year. Adjustments to the budget are necessary to accommodate the increased cost as the charges are per ordinance and per page number. $9,285 is for compensation to the Community Development Department due to an increase in need of personnel services. Sometimes I have unintended items that happen, and the senior planner has given notice, and the city needs to cash out vacation and comp time. $105,000 is needed to compensate the police department. Currently, when the city does not have enough staff to cover necessary shifts or workload demands, the police department has had to resort to requiring existing employees to work extra hours. And $10,000 is also needed into the police department for additional uniforms. $10,000 is needed in the General Services Department also. There is a need for additional overtime for all the projects needing to be accomplished in the city, and a new computer is needed for the new facility manager. And 24-007 budget resolution is also transferring $339,000 from the contingency line item of the airport fund. And that amount is taking the $532,489 that was budgeted for contingency and reducing it down to $193,489. This is $339,000 is for the updating the terminal water distribution system. The current service does not supply adequate water for the fire flow. The project will bring the airport into compliance with the state of Washington and Dallsport Water District. Staff recommends to move to adopt Resolution 24-007, authorizing transfers of budget amounts between categories of various funds of the City of the Dalles budget, making appropriations and authorizing expenditures for the fiscal year of June 30th, 2024. Does anybody have any questions?
Councilor Runyon.
I was not going to ask you a question tonight, but aren't we partners with Klickitat County? And I don't see their name mentioned as part of this pay
So this
split transaction, or is it all us or what?
is money that's already budgeted into the airport fund, and it's coming out of their contingency fund. So the airport fund itself will be covering this expense.
And the rest of these come out of the contingency fund and the general fund, is that right?
That's correct.
And I might have missed this, but the contingency, we're getting toward the end of the fiscal year. I'm sure we have a pretty healthy balance in the contingency still.
That's correct. As I stated before, it's $932,822 is what our remaining contingency was, and this will reduce it down to $793,937, which is still a good amount.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Anybody else?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I just wanted to note that part of the money that we're transferring is due to the vandalism and sleeping occurrences in the 24-hour bathroom that's down there in the transportation center. And so when we're in my ongoing saga to attempt to get a virtually indestructible bathroom downtown that's available 24 hours, I would just like to add that this is an additional cost to that initial cost when we converted the bathroom and tried to make it work. Rather than investing in what everyone thought was too expensive of a bathroom that is indestructible. So perhaps upfront costs maybe outweigh what we totally put into it at the end and have a better result. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have a question or two, if you don't mind, and a comment. Let's following up on the bathrooms. Actually, somebody asked me this last week or so, if we were ever going to get or keep a 24-hour bathroom, and I wasn't really honestly up to the latest on that. So I'm glad to see that I have a chance to be kind of updated. If I understand right, this would install a lock that we can use remotely, so we don't have to staff going down. And essentially we would have what, like a half day or a 12-hour open restroom. Is that correct?
Yes. Excuse me. Thank you, Counselor. working with our new facilities manager and Joshua Chandler in our community development department, they've been exploring different options to manage the bathroom down at
Right.
Federal Street. And so the concept here is exploring different timed locked options. So it doesn't require someone to manually go down and lock and unlock it. It'll still require, daily cleanings and someone to go down and inspect. But oftentimes what happens is the schedule of much of the facilities crew, they may run 6 to 2, or in the wintertime, they come in early. And so they end up leaving early. And so they have to come back to lock the bathrooms or something like that. And so we're trying to manage this from a schedule perspective, as well as looking at some of the different, not high-tech tools, but, some kind of technological tool to manage this on a timed or remote basis.
Question,
Counselor McLaughlin and then Counselor Runyon.
do we have an external video camera on the entrance to that restroom?
I don't think we do, actually. One of the projects that the city has been discussing is a camera security upgrade, again, from a holistic standpoint, as well as a door security upgrade as well. A number of many organizations use a fob system or a card lock system to manage their external doors as well as their internal doors to control access, as well as to, again, take advantage of a timed lock mechanism rather than the manual locks, and to help track, frankly, who's going where, as the different badges and fobs have an ID number associated with it. Both of those tools require a strong foundation to effectively manage and support, not only from a facilities perspective and installation and maintenance, but from an IT perspective as well. So some of the changes that we made by creating an IT department, adding one additional staffer, and giving them some time to get up to speed, those are projects that are on the list. But I have to say, at this point, with these 2 new positions still coming on board and a lot of deferred maintenance and back work, they're working their way through it. I'm a bit hesitant to purchase purchase cameras or even a fob system on an individual campus by campus basis for the city, and would much prefer we take some time and make sure we can bring on a holistic system that supports it all.
But if we're having amounts of money being spent for vandalism on certain sites, wouldn't it make sense to at least electronically monitor so we can hold people accountable? And that should diminish the need and the effect of having a 24-hour bathroom.
I mean, that would be the objective of that camera security system.
Thank
is
you.
to be able to provide some of that. It just can't be done piecemeal.
Got it.
Counselor Runyon.
Thank you, Tim, for asking the camera question. I had that one too. So who's going to have the button for this new technology to unlock and lock the bathroom on the weekends as well as during the week?
Well, my impression, and I don't know if Mr. Chandler has any additional updates on the locking mechanism. My impression, it would be just a timing. So 8 o'clock it unlocks and 5 p.m. it locks, kind of deal.
So it can do it automatically without,
A manual button that someone has to push every day would be a timer.
wouldn't be it.
But sorry, anything additional to add
I think you
there?
answered the question. Yeah. I mean, we're looking at different options. There could be a fob option, but hopefully just sticking to a timed lock.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're paying somebody to take the button home with them and push it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And part of it has been to reduce the additional staff time that it's taken. We want to try to keep this bathroom open as much as we can, but it's getting to the point where we're paying, overtime to send people down here to keep it open on the weekend. So trying to mitigate those costs, and, buying a lock will cut down on that amount of time significantly.
This is encouraging. I appreciate it.
Okay. With that, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion, but I'm going to make a very, very quick comment in addition prior to the motion. And that is, we all know we've had ongoing emphasis and energy put into fully staffing up our police department. And I just want to pause to appreciate the fact that we do have success in that area. Thank you, Chief, in continuing to recruit and bring folks on, and we're getting there. And meanwhile, thank you to the staff that's willing to, work overtime. So with that comment, I would make a motion to adopt resolution 24-007, authorizing transfers of budgeted amounts between categories of various funds of the City of the Dalles budget, making appropriations and authorizing expenditures for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Counselor Richardson and seconded by Counselor Long to authorize the transfers of budgeted funds. Is there any more discussion or questions?
I have a comment.
Counselor McLaughlin?
As I watch the news and I see what's happening in Illinois and on Dalton Village, not a cent in the Dalles. And I can tell you after hearing or serving on the budget, every cent in this city is accounted for. And thank you very much for your work.
Thank you.
How much does the mayor of Dalton make? You know,
You know what, 200 and some $1,000.
Yeah.
And she had quite an adventure to Las Vegas. Now, when are you taking off to Las Vegas?
I canceled that trip after
I see.
after I watched the news.
I'm only kidding.
Okay,
Write that down, Tom.
Yeah.
okay, did we vote? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye or
Aye.
any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, Angie. Okay. The City Council of the City of the Dalles will now meet in executive session in accordance with ORS 192.66028 to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff will be allowed to attend the executive session concerning pending litigation. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to record or report on any of the discussions or deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. News media may only attend in person. No decision may be made in the executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room and online. So for those of you that are interested in attending, coming back into our meeting after our executive session is over, we estimate that the executive session will be between 20 and 30 minutes. So with that, we'll adjourn into well, we're not adjourning, right? We're just going to executive session. I wanted to just quickly clarify on the performance evaluations. I wasn't expecting everybody to have them all filled out by our meeting on the 26th. I think the first meeting, we'll just talk about the process and ways that we can make the process better. Okay, so and then we'll discuss, after that, we'll be getting into the forms, filling out the forms.
Question, can we get it on a digital so that we can fill it in digitally and submit it?
Second session.
Yeah.
We are? Yeah, on the
Question.
performance. I want a chance to look through them first and then I'll comment and I'll call you.
Well, bring your comments to the meeting we're gonna have.
All right.
Okay, any other business to come before the council? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Wait, that was only 20, that was only